Howdy, all of you delicious people. I'm here today to talk to you about the Fantastic Four First Steps. So, this movie is to go on and clickbait you into a theater seat more than any Marvel film has ever gone on and done. And I've gone on and also seen Madam Web that has clickbaited a lot of people probably into the theater. And me accounting because I had gone on and seen Thing in said theater. And then I was like, oh, like, I was entertained by that film, but actually, like, it really clickbaited me into the theater. But so, let me first say some positives about this film because, like, I feel that there's a wide variety of different opinions upon this film. And I'm to probably be like, is this going to be like the Batman Robert Pattinson thing all over again, where I'm going to end up in the minority? Or, like, are there like minded people that will go on and feel the same way like I did? Uh, but so, like, the positives I have about this film, like, I really liked this version of Sue Storm. I think this was the more better version of Sue Storm that I feel that I've ever seen in a live action Fantastic Four movie. Like how she goes on by the end of the film and she's like holding up that power, and Reed is like, "Oh my God, Sue! Like you shouldn't be going on and using your power like this. Like this is crazy. Like she yeah, like." And then Sue is like, "Just protect our child." Yeah, because Sue has a child in this movie, and they spend way too much time on that. Believe me, I mean way too much time on that. But again, let's go back to the positives. Uh, we would also go on and have me to have watched recently the unreleased Fantastic Four film. And immediately when saying that, do not take what I'm going to say here as we're getting another Fantastic Four team within this film. Oh my God, are we getting the Council of Reeds? Oh my God, are we getting Doctor Doom? Oh my God, are we getting everything that we've ever wished for? Oh my God. No. No. No Council of Reeds. No other Fantastic Four teams within this film. None of that happens. Doctor Doom really isn't even in this movie. Rest assured that maybe besides an end credit scene, that Doctor Doom is not in this film. I have to kind of cover some bases here, so. But even in the end credit scene, not worth it. It's not worth it. It's not. To think that to say that he's in this film. But so, the actors who had gone on and been in prior Fantastic Four unreleased film are to be a part of this movie as extras. They're in the background. They're news reporters, they're construction workers, and that is great. I liked that. I felt them like, okay, it was so worth it to watch that film because I'm seeing them here being like, yeah. I liked that. To see them get used in this movie was like good. I liked that because they should have been used here. But so I also go on to then say here that there is a lot of half-baked stuff going on in this movie that isn't fully cooked. There also is to basically just state that this movie is an extended cut of Rise of the Silver Surfer done with a different slap coat of paint. And really, I say that with there actually being a legitimate Galactus within this film, and the Fantastic Four face off against Galactus, and that, if that is to be the one thing that gets your butt in a theater seat, then like that is to probably be the only thing. There is an actual fight out between Galactus and the Fantastic Four, and probably a lot of people can go on to feel that that is the thing to get you into the theater, even though it shouldn't, because this movie shouldn't at all get you into that theater. You should just go on and wait till that Disney Plus thing happens, or go on and watch this movie on a app called Moopzzi, Moopzzi. This is an app that I've been using a fairly long time, and at this point now, and you can go on and watch the Fantastic Four First Steps for absolutely free, and then you can go on and justify, after watching this just on an app somewhere, that the quality is just kind of meh. But you can go on and justify if you want to see this movie in a theater and say that no, this movie was banger or this movie was a bummer, and then have your own opinion about this film other than mine. Uh, I wouldn't go on and say that this is the worst Marvel movie I've ever seen, but god dang does it get pretty dang close. I'm seriously having to go on and find out what Ben Grimm's favorite cookie is, and to actually see the whole process of when exactly Sue Storm ends up finding out she's pregnant, and through every bit of bump size to the point of her actually going on and physically giving birth within space. And then after that, we also have to spend quite a bit of time in this movie having a lot of people judge whether or not that Reed and Sue should be having said child on the planet Earth. Because we have this obligation of whether or not to give up this child to save this planet Earth. This to be the whole crux of this film. And so we almost have at one point, word for word, the Silver Surfer come in and say the exact same lines that she says that he had gone on to say in the Rise of Silver Surfer movie, of like, yes, like take your family and and take your friends and celebrate, and like, yeah, like line for line, there's some stuff that's just kind of similar in this thing that they've gone on to say, and I think that could just go on and just be like, ah, yeah, that's a nice little Easter egg. But it's kind of annoying how it's just like, man, they couldn't have gone on and done anything different. They could have changed the words a little bit to just not make it sound just like the other movie. But it's whatever. So for those of you, I'd also seen Craven. That's another Marvel movie. I was actually rather entertained by that film, even though, like, it was to go on and just kind of be like a kind of very meh kind of movie. Um, but I could say that I've seen that film and I've watched it, and maybe at some point I may still just go on to justifiably review that movie on this channel and have that up there. Because like I may go on and actually want to actually just talk about that film and review it more in depth. Um, Even though I don't feel that I know the complete story of that character, like cover to cover, like I don't know the real legit history of that character compared to so many other things. Uh, but so talking about anything else about Fantastic Four, you can probably tell how I feel about this movie. The overall grading is that this movie is just like, it tries to probably be like, I guess, better than Rise of Silver Surfer. That to me, I'm just like, I've already seen this movie, so it's bad in the fact that is to go on and remind me of a out of the two films, a bad Fantastic Four Chris Evans film. Uh, Regardless of just its visual appeal, this movie just does nothing for me. And it should do nothing for anyone. Like, it should be a movie that probably a lot of people should just skip. Uh, there probably will be more answers in the end credit scene of the Thunderbolts of where the Fantastic Four has been compared to probably this movie, um, which was really nothing when you think about it. Because they don't really answer the end credit scene of the Thunderbolts. They don't in this movie. It's so weird. But anyways, uh, it's about time to just go on and say that this movie, my overall verdict is that this film is just bad. It's bad. Just because I felt that there was nothing really original in this film, or it's just trying to clickbait you into it, and so that's not good. That's not a good film. A clickbaiting movie is not a good film. Like that noise. And then also like you could say it's like, well, Mole Man is in this movie. We already have a film that has Mole Man in it. Just so you're aware, just so you know, it's unreleased, but it's a film nonetheless. But wait a minute, there was these apes and there was these things and the Franklin Richards in the movie and oh my god, and just there's so much stuff in this film. Just because they just have a bunch of in this movie doesn't make it good. Yeah, just uh like a good movie has to go on and have an actually good story, and this movie doesn't really have that. It doesn't try to have that. And so with that said, it's about time to just break this movie down. Because I'm broken. I'm a broken man, ladies and gentlemen. To go on and look at Ironheart and to not want it to evolve at all, seeing that show. Not because like I had any uh like feelings about uh like just Ironheart. I'm like, this is gonna be a nothing show. And then I watch it and I'm like, well, justified. Nothing. Nothing goes on in that show, but we have like a number of characters that I'm like, okay, like it would be cool to see these characters somewhere in the MCU, but not here. Not here. In this show. Uh Marvel Daredevil's born again. Like that exists. Like Musin is an interesting character, but like there's not a lot going on in that show either. We even have to tease the fact that maybe Daredevil is not really going to be in a costume in that show. It's just like, ah! Shouldn't that be this thing to sell you into that? Anyways, so let's go on and let's break down this movie. Because I'm freaking like, how is it that we have at this point like a better like DC film than we do a Marvel one? Like, man, if things just really lopsided in the scale nowadays, like, how is it we have a better Superman movie than a Fantastic Four film? How is that possible? Because we have a whole team that like doesn't have a better movie than a solo individual character film, and plus, all, yeah, like Superman does have a team kind of in that film, but still, for those of you that are going on and be like, I didn't see that Superman film. That Superman film, like compared especially to this thing, that movie is really good. I feel I really enjoyed it, and like I had problems with that. I had a lot of problems. But I still thumbs up it at the end of the day, and I still stick by that. Compared to looking at this film, I definitely stick by that. We have a Fantastic Four film that almost becomes like the Fast and Furious movies. Family. Yeah, it's a lot of that going on. Uh, everybody in the entire United States of America or world or whatever, like Sue Storm ends up calling them family. And so can I go on and can I ask Sue Storm for $50? Will she give it to me? Cause we're family. Like I'm never gonna pay her back, but at least like she'll give me the $50, right? Cause we're family. Maybe I'll ask for 100. Uh, it'll be worth it. It'll be worth it, Sue. It'll be worth it. Anyways, let's go on and break down this film. I've already stated that several times now. So let me pause here. Let me go on and let me start up my phone and let me get to my notes and things. Just break this wheel down as if it's worth it. And let me get to all the nitty gritties of this film and take far too long to go into that. I would normally have every little tiny nook and cranny detail of this film, but uh, the way that this movie was done didn't have actually good subtitles, so it was actually all in Spanish subtitles. So I was like, oh, like maybe I can kind of sift off of like things here and there to kind of know what's going on in the film if I forgot anything. But that this isn't really going to help me. But anyways, does it matter? Yes, it does, because this was a good film. Whatever. Anyways, let's pause this here. Let's do this. All right. So one also thing that I want to say before we get into full-on spoilers, like I feel that this movie also reminds me a lot of the first two Ghostbusters films, regardless of how people probably feel about obviously the Ghostbusters 2 movie, because slime and a baby and whatever, uh, and like also with how much I have regards of I just had a little notification here. My apologies. I don't know why it's telling me that. Um, but so I'm to go on and say here that like regardless of how high I hold those films, because of being my childhood favorites, looking at this movie, I'm like, yeah, it can remind me of Ghostbusters 1 and 2 films like smashed together, and that kind of says a lot about this film. Um, it's still not good. It's not good. Uh, like honestly, after watching this film, and also realizing the longer and longer I wait to finish this review and how tired I will probably be getting now, I really just need a cold, hard slap in the face after watching this film. I really do. But anyways, let's go into the breakdown of this movie. There's actually like certain cast members that I did not know who exactly they are. Like I didn't really know who exactly Lynn Nichols was, who was the Fantastic Four chief of staff. I'm like, okay, I didn't even know that like. It seems that there is this Lynn Nichols character that seems to be uh, kind of the person who is to go on and be the like the PR person for the Fantastic Four, but didn't really know that this character really existed until now. So it's interesting to kind of see what these movies just kind of eventually do. So in the beginning of this film, we have both Reed and we have both Sue. Sue is taking a dump in the turlet, and Reed is going on making his way into the bathroom to look for iodine, and then he's looking for a bunch of other crap. So Reed ends up asking Sue, it's like, hey, do you know where the iodine is? And Sue is like, well, hey, if you give me like a couple, like 13 seconds, like I will go on and be out there to go on and help you figure this out. And Reed's like, 13 seconds, like that seems like a very specific amount of time here. And we'll go on and throughout the entire movie consistently do that kind of crap where they consistently go on and say like, oh, all we'll need when like Galactus is gonna get sucked into the black hole thing, like all we'll need is like 37 seconds. And oh, like they had to go on and have uh like uh any number of these things. They had to take like 42 or any number of kind of really different rungs of crap to figure out or whatever. Yeah, just anyways. So Sue goes on to make her way out of the bathroom after taking a dump to give Reed the pregnancy test, and it is to show that she is pregnant. She has a bun in the oven. And Reed is like, well, yeah, like, but we've tried for so long to have kids, and like, and we were almost assuming that we were never going to actually have kids, and we were fine with that. But Sue is like, well, yeah, but we're having kids now. We're gonna have a baby now, and so they're like, all right, okay, this is good. So the two of them hug, kiss, huzzah, baby be happening. And so we get the ABC special presentation. So we have the Ted Gilbert show that is to go on and be like showcasing the the greatest hits of the Fantastic Four here, going on to show that before they became freaks, no, before they became superheroes, they were all normal humans. Reed Richards, Ben Grimm, Sue Storm, and Johnny Storm. Uh, and interestingly enough, like in this movie, like Sue is to go on and talk about how her parents got into a car accident, and uh, and Sue's father survived, and so it's like, okay, so like we get like some bit of backstory of Sue's family, whereas like the other Fan Four Stick movie, uh, they end up actually having Sue and Johnny's father like still alive, and he's still there, and he's actually guiding the Fan Four Stick team, or Fan Four Stick, however you want to pronounce that. Anyways, moving on. So we legitimately have to take time to have the Fantastic Four all being put into their helmets, and we have Reed and we have Sue, and they're like their helmet kissing one another, and we also have Sue who's going on and like saying that, hey, my brother is Johnny, and he's single, everybody. And Johnny's like, huh? So we have the Fantastic Four rocketing off into space, and then uh, we end up having them come back from space, and then they have powers. So we have immediately Reed that it's a showcase that he's stretchy, and we all of a sudden have a 7-Up sign that seems to be falling from out of the sky. Not quite sure if that's a sponsor or not, but regardless, we have this 7-Up ball that ends up falling from the sky, and Sue catches it before it lands on to strangers. Uh, we go on at some point and have the Fantastic Four flying off, and Ben is to be doing a cannonball into the water as he drags a boat up to shore. We then go on to showcase Giganto, the mole monster. If you guys know Mole Man, then you'll probably know Giganto. So, not Giganta, that's DC's character, Giganta. So, we end up showing Giganto, and he's going on and doing the thing. He's doing the Fantastic Four comic book cover. And so the Fantastic Four are trying to defeat Giganto. And then we also go on and see that the Fantastic Four animated cartoon exists within the same world, bizarrely. We'll also go on and do the exact same thing where in the Chris Evans movie, Chris Evans gone on to have a action figure of the Thing, and like the Thing ends up saying like it's clobbering time, it's clobber, and so we have Johnny who tells Ben, it's like, well, hey, isn't this cool? Yeah, like, isn't this a cool toy? And Ben takes it and then he crushes it. And, like, same thing happens here. Like, Johnny Storm eventually has his own Johnny Storm little doll of a thing. And Ben takes it and crushes it in his hand and blows it like a kiss to Johnny, but like, ha ha ha. So, but we really aren't really actually seeing within this film like both Johnny and Ben really being at odds with one another. If anything, they're kind of sharing it with the same jokes at some points, and like it kind of just seems like they're not really at odds with one another, which is kind of just strange to me. Like I have gone on and seen so many times Johnny and Ben being at odds with one another. It's kind of weird to not see that dynamic being done in this film. But anyways, then we go on and see that there's a fire going on within a big part of this town. And Johnny goes on and consumes all of the flame, and that's the good thing that he does. And so we then have a bunch of construction workers that are at the site, and here's where we see the guy who did the original Human Torch and Ben Grimm. They're like, hey, Johnny Storm. And then, so here is where Johnny goes on and he does the four in the sky, and huzzah, he does that. Good for him. So we then have the Fantastic Four and Johnny Storm just kind of fly off, and we see uh, this sign that ends up saying "Tan, don't burn Copperstone." Whatever that sign was supposed to be. Maybe there's a reference there. Maybe there's a weird, goofy Easter egg thing that is to go on and be. Not quite sure. But I'm assuming it probably is. But, anyways, we also would come to find that the Mole Man had tried to take the Pan Am building and try to bury it underground. And so it seems that whole endeavor was to be thwarted by the Fantastic Four. How that was thwarted, not quite sure. Because really, all that we are to go on and see is that the Fantastic Four goes on and arrests the Mole Man, and that's about it. We see the Pan Am like building just kind of under the ground, and yeah, like just not a lot of stuff is just kind of confirmed here. So we also go on and see the Fantastic Four then face off against supposedly uh, Man Thinker, or yeah, I think it's Man Thinker. That name just doesn't sound right to me. Um, and then we see or no, we see a reference of Man Thinker, and God, that name doesn't sound right to me. You guys can correct me what the name is actually in the movie. Maybe it's something else. Um, but then also we get a showcasing of these apes here, these gorilla apes, with the red ghost and the gorilla apes. We supposedly were supposed to get John Malkovich actually being at some point within this film, but that part ended up getting cut, and that was supposed to be John Malkovich being the red ghost with the gorilla apes, but that just never happened in this film. But we get to see these gorillas, and Reed is taking them down, as well as also we see Stu using her powers to try and reattach this railing system, this rail system, so this North Rail can go jostling through. So the next thing we see is the fantastic science, and so Reed Richards is going on and teaching a bunch of kids a bunch of science garbage. And so they're just like, huh? And he's like, well, hey, let's go on and let's see something blow up. And they're like, yay! And then he blows like a, a thing that looks like a rocket coming out of some kind of instrument. And huzzah! We really have to go on and watch this movie for this garbage. Great. Let's see something blow up. All right, crew, great, yeah. So we also come to find out that Sue Storm had figured out a way to uh, to work out a negotiation with the Mole Man. So the two of them have a truce between one another because the Mole Man goes on and says like, well, yeah, you know what, like. I want nothing to do with the Fantastic Four, but Sue, on the other hand. So, like, this is basically just like Namor all over again, the Submariner. The Namor, at one point, you can see this in an animated uh, series where the Namor ends up going on to find infatuation with Sue Storm, and like he drags her down to Atlantis, and then all of a sudden the Fantastic Four has to go on and be like, well, hey, like Sue Storm was to be dragged away, so we have to figure out what's going on, and then that becomes like the Fantastic Four face off against Atlantis, and then there ends up getting some intriguing bit of battle going on in there. Also, in my eyes, in the Rise of the Silver Surfer movie, we have the surfer that ends up, I think, getting really intrigued by Sue Storm because the surfer sees Sue and is like, you know what, I see like my wife when I'm looking at this woman. So, anyways, so we go on to have Sue, who's kind of doing this whole like United Nations thing, and she's going on and talking to the people, and it's kind of funny because we end up seeing Latveria there, and it's completely empty. So I'm like, of course, Latveria is completely empty because we're not going to see Doom really in this film. So we see a bunch of these newspapers just slapped onto this screen here. Then we see a bunch of people that are all just happy that Fantastic Four exists. Maybe a lot of these probably have some kind of goofy Easter eggs in them. I'm sure there probably is someone that's going to point this out to me. I'm sure there's a lot of Easter eggs in this film. I'm sure there is. There's a ton. There's a load. I want to go on and know them all, but I don't really care to because this movie sucked, in my opinion. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to put on the glasses now. Everybody loves it when I do this. They're just like, man, I'm sure, like, can't this guy just go on and not have to do one review without wearing sunglasses? No, not really. So, so we're back to the Ted Gibson whatever show. Ted Gilbert. Ted Gilbert. That makes a lot more sense. And he has to go on and have behind him the Fantastic Four to show everybody. And thank golly for that, because that gives us the title screen. Woohoo! The title screen. Isn't that great? So, Reed and Sue make their way into the Baxter building, as it seems uh, that Johnny and Ben are looking at Herbie trying to make some sauce. And so we have Ben that realizes that Herbie is not quite doing the sauce just right, that he is to go on and start chopping up some garlic. Yeah. For some reason, Ben's character is to be really interested in cooking, I guess because we also have to have the fact of the matter of it is that the character that is to be Ben Grimm is to have been the same guy from the show Bear, so we have to do something with that. Where this Ben Grimm cooks now. Cooks now? Don't know why, but he cooks now, I guess. Just whatever for this movie. Just whatever. So we also have quite a bit of time where Johnny is eating cereal when there's not a meal prepared. Like, we'll consistently go on and have Johnny who's just grabbing this bowl of cereal and he's eating it. Like, if we don't have seriously a Johnny Storm action figure with a bowl of cereal, then, like, what are we doing with our action figures? Then again, why would I care to buy Fantastic Four action figures? I wouldn't. Or if I were to buy them, I would try to put them in a lot better story than what this movie gives us within this film. So we have the Fantastic Four that ends up getting on to be sitting down for a meal together. And Johnny ends up telling Sue, it's like, hey, you're late. And she's like, I'm late. And it's like, like, like Ben is starting to figure something out here. The further and further that uh, that all four of them are just kind of sitting down at the table together. And so Ben goes on and is to ask Sue, it's like, you're pregnant, aren't you? And Sue's like, how do you know? And Ben's like, I just know. And so they hug, they embrace, and so it's like, all right, like I'm gonna be an uncle, and Ben's gonna be an uncle, and all right, okay, so like everybody's just happy about this, and so they're like, all right, like so. Here's the spot where we get the guy who is originally Mr. Fantastic. He's going on and he's doing this news bulletin, and uh, and I was like, cool, this is a nice little Easter egg here. So we have Reed who's going on and he's doing uh, the uh, baby to-do list. We have to focus time on this movie on a baby to-do list than them stopping crime. Okay? That's what we gotta do. So Reed has to start baby proofing the home, but he's really not even baby proofing the home. If anything, like Reed just kind of lets Herbie go on and do a lot of this stuff. Even building the crib, where Sue goes on and tells Reed, it's like, shouldn't you at least be building the crib? Like, we gotta make sure that our baby is like nice and safe, and like you're just going on and just letting a robot build our baby's crib? Like, come on, Reed. But yeah, so Herbie ends up putting all of these things to put on the outlets uh, to baby proof them. Then Herbie goes on and baby proofs all of the doors and cabinets and whatever. That forces then Ben to accidentally like grab one of these handles and or he breaks one of the cabinets and then he yells at Herbie and why shouldn't he? So but baby-proofing the entire place. So, so we go on, and also there's a lot of stuff where kind of like Herbie is doing some things and people are passing by. I don't know exactly what this is. There's stuff where like Johnny Storm comes in and he walks around. Now, I just don't remember what goes on here. There's a point where Sue and her chief of staff are kind of walking uh, through this uh, through this bit of people, and one person is to seemingly want to give a statement regarding like Sue, and Sue ends up becoming invisible, so she doesn't have to talk to this person, and so the chief of staff relays to Sue what the message was, and then they continue to walk off. So the curiosity on a lot of people's minds is if Reed and Sue's baby, even though it's technically with inside Sue, if this baby will go on and have superpowers, even so much so that the news wants to even cover it and is curious if their baby is going to actually have superpowers. So Reed, it seems, is trying to run a bunch of tests to possibly like try to make sure that their baby is okay because he really cares about it. But then also he is to also go on and find out that there is a message that they are to have picked up. And so Reed goes on and puts this message on this record. And the thing of it is that he can't really like he can't really decipher the message. He doesn't know what the message is. And then eventually he just goes on and just kind of gives it to Johnny for him to just decipher it because he seems Johnny to be a linguist. And for some goofy reason, they give this message thing to Johnny just to have him have something to do in this film, to make him actually seem smart instead of just this surfer, stupid boy uh, that they've kind of made him for years. That he doesn't have one iota of real thought in that brain of his, um, which I feel that he doesn't, because of how they just kind of write him. Oftentimes is just this just kind of just unintelligent guy that just kind of gotten by through his life by his good looks or just luck. Anyways, so Herbie is to go on and mention to Reed about a meeting at 4:15. So he's like 4:15 or 2:15, like what meeting is that? Come to find out, the meeting is actually Johnny Storm. So Johnny Storm is to go on and at some point uh, ask Reed about costume blueprints for the uh, or no costume blueprint spaceship blueprints that he had gone on and had like just kind of sifting around a while ago, and eventually they will go on and update the spacesuits because the guys got to be able to go out in space and still be able to use their powers. So, and specifically, Johnny will definitely need that when they go out into space to meet up with Galactus in the later half of this movie. But so, but Reed ends up going on talking to Johnny and bringing up this message, which Johnny takes it into his own and starts to figure it out. Um, Johnny also goes on and finds out that Reed is working on this teleportation machine here, and they go on to find out that it's to work, And eventually they will end up using this in the later part of this movie to try to figure out a scheme that they can try to figure out how to get Earth away from Galactus, to where Galactus won't know where Earth is. But we come to find that also that Galactus will have cosmic awareness, which is to really be this scanning thing that he goes on and does. And so yeah, so you're not going to get something so over of Galactus so easily. I think we go on and we way underestimate Galactus in this film, and honestly, like I don't think that this movie even showcases Galactus that well as far as like what all he can do, like all of his power sets, like every like that he's gonna go on and be so much better than this whole entire team combined, and like all of his power can go on and just easily trump this entire team and what have you. It's not showcased well, I feel. But then again, there are several different variations of Galactus. And I'm sure also Galactus can go on and probably be nerfed for the story needing it to be nerfed. Whatever. So after Reed goes on and teleports this egg, all of a sudden we come to find out that New York City completely goes blackout because of how much electricity had to be used to teleport. So Johnny goes on to light up the room for him to need to go on and find the breaker so he can, of course, uh, get the power back on. So Johnny then goes onto a record player to have this message and see what the message is all about. And so here is where we have Sue going in to find out that Herbie is actually building the uh, the crib for the baby, for the Franklin. Anyways, so here's where Sue goes on to complain and B-word and moan to Reed about like, well, hey, like, you seriously having a robot building our baby's crib? And Reed is like, well, like, what's the problem with it? Like, if anything, we're getting a crib built, and it's like, well, yeah, like, do you really trust the robot to build us a crib? Like, so yeah, so we go on, and they're bickering back and forth here, and so Reed's biggest concern is like is of their child, but like he's trying to do as many tests he can to figure out exactly what this child is going to be able to have some kind of ability or some kind of thing to do. And so Reed not being able to quite figure that out is just baffling him. And so Sue goes on to be like, well, hey, if you want to see our child, like, I will let you see our child. So Sue has just her chest just start to turn invisible here. So Reed and Sue can go on and still see their baby from within inside her. So it's kind of like seeing like uh a clear um like a clear like if you see these glasses here, like you can still see through them to see like my glasses here. And so like that's kind of what we're seeing here is that Sue's chest just becomes just like these sunglasses, and you can see through them to my just kind of pair of sunglasses here. That's kind of what you're seeing here is you're seeing Sue's womb of this seemingly baby within the womb. Anyways, so excuse me. So the next thing we're seeing is uh, that people are going on and saying Happy Halloween. So we're having a holiday within a superhero film. Not since Batman Forever have we had Halloween in a superhero film. No, you can let me know in the comments below if there ever is another Halloween in other superhero films, of which I'm sure you could probably go on and say, like, well, in the long Halloween, like, yeah, I get that. Um, but let me know in the comments below if there are holidays being used in superhero movies. I'm sure, like, we get Iron Man where we have Christmas and New Year's. But let me know in the comments below any of the kind of more other kind of things that are to go and be used. That would be fun. Maybe like birthdays or something like that, which again, be Iron Man, bizarrely. Uh, all in one film. We have like birthdays, Christmas, and no wait, maybe that was the same. Maybe no. Uh, in the very first Iron Man, uh, Pepper has a birthday. So, anyways, uh, moving on. So, uh, Ben sees a couple of kids, kind of having this, um, this little car thing. God, uh, it's just a car that you have to like push. Like it's one of those push cars. Uh, like I wanna say like people have like races with them, um, but I can't think of what exactly this is. Like it's a little like shop car or whatever. It's uh, the words baffle me of what I can call this. So Ben makes his way to get some cookies. And so there's all of a sudden a bunch of kids that are all to line up by this fence. And they're like, hey, like, pick up that car and lift it and yada yada. So Ben is to go on and kind of give in the pressure here of these kids that just want Ben to do these miraculous things with this car. So he lifts it and he lifts it above his head. So they're like, hey, throw it, throw it. And they're like, he's like, dude, I'm not going to throw the car. And so he puts the car back down. So this character called Rachel, don't remember there ever being a Rachel. Like all I know is Alicia, and like we have Rachel that it seems is going to go on and be Ben's love interest. Not quite sure. There isn't much developing within that whole situation within this film. Because of course there isn't. Because why would there be? Why would there be development in this film? Because we shouldn't. The only thing that probably develops is my uh, real good patience for a film like this. So Rachel goes on to talk about how she has a number of X age whatever things that she has to go on and deal with. But so I think she ends up saying like a couple of 4-year-olds or something. I don't know. So Rachel and Ben they start talking about his favorite cookie, the black and white ones, and so at some point Ben is looking at Rachel. It's like, well, hey, maybe I'll stop by sometime and I'll bring some cookies and it's like, okay, like is Ben Grimm just becoming the Cookie Monster now? Like, what's going on here? I'm a little confused. Is he gonna paint himself blue and become the Cookie Monster? I'd be intrigued by that. But, like, if we can go on and legit, like, I would be so cool if I would be so cool. That sounded stupid. I would be intrigued by the fact that they're legit could be a Ben Grimm cookie jar. I would like that. That would be cool if you legit had like Ben Grimm's head as a cookie jar. I'd be okay with that. Like I probably wouldn't go on and be like, "Hey, yeah, let's buy that cookie jar." But I would just be like, "Cool." Like I go on and I've had like piggy banks that are to go on and have heads of certain characters. Like, look at this, uh, Thanos right there, piggy bank. I have a Deadpool one. Also, so yeah, so I would be fine if they had like a Ben Grimm cookie jar thing, or even like a Ben Grimm uh piggy bank head. That would be cool. Hopefully they have stuff like that. I know that there's probably the Herbie popcorn bucket thing. There's a Galactus popcorn bucket. I thought that was cool, but then again, like this movie, this godforsaken movie. Anyways, so when Ben is having this kind of talking with Rachel here, I'm like, hey, this could lead to something, and like it kind of really doesn't. But anyways, so Ben makes his way back home and is to drop these cookies, and it looks like half of them are chocolate and half of them are like normal. So like it doesn't look quite like black and white to me. So we also have Herbie who's carving up this pumpkin. Looks pretty cool. So here is where Johnny ends up having the action figure, and Ben crushes it right into Johnny's face. So I'm a little lost here. Oh, here is where Reed is to go on and bring the whole group outside because he wants to show how he's baby proofed the world. And so Reed is to go on and mention how there is a bunch of different like crime syndicate villainish characters that are to go on and make their way through town. And Reed is going on to figure out a way for the cops to be able to nab all these people instead of having the Fantastic Four do it for them. So Reed goes on and mentions characters like El Diablo, which is obviously just a rogues gallery within the Fantastic Four. Like the two other characters they end up mentioning, like just kind of has me just kind of forget about what exactly they state here. Like I try to just fast forward or rewind a little back to just kind of rehear what they say here. And every time I heard, like the only thing that stuck out to me was El Diablo. And there was two other names that just kind of get lost on me. But maybe if you kind of heard about those names, let me know in the comments below. Because they were kind of lost by me of who the other characters were. But anyways, so once that happens, we then go on and see Surfer making her way to Earth. There's a huge amount of like, it seems like a lot of fireworks or a lot of light show kind of going on around Silver Surfer here. A lot of orange going on here, a big burst of orange, and Reed turns to Johnny. It's like, well, hey, see what that is. And so Reed goes flying off, or Reed goes flying off. Johnny goes flying off to meet, to see the surfer, and then the Fantastic Car ends up having the rest uh, of the team here with Sue, Ben, and Reed here. So we go on and have a number of people just kind of looking out at what's going on. We have a number of people that are all wearing the Thing costumes, which is kind of cool. One of them has a more legitimate costume, and there's two guys that are just kind of wearing the Thing shirts. Hopefully, any of those kids end up keeping a lot of that stuff because that could be worth some money somewhere down the road. Uh, like, yeah, these were the actual costumes used in the movie. Uh, but if anything, uh, Oh, we do have within the movie here. It seems that we do have some artwork that is to be used in probably a lot of the comic books. There's these two guys that are kind of looking out of this window, and there is just off to the very far side here. There's a lot of comic book panels. There's this one thing called Oog. It's OOG, and there's just a lot of stuff that is to go on and make me assume that this is some kind of Fantastic Four reference that I don't quite get. Uh, but I guess that's some Easter eggs for you there. So here is where we have the Silver Surfer making her way onto the planet, going on and saying the same phrase that the other Silver Surfer had said of like, well, hey, um, like go on and tell your friends and family members what they mean to you the most, because Galactus is coming, and this and that, and we're coming to wipe out your planet, and Galactus won't be stopped, and this and that. So, and she continues to go on and talk about things that connect with her word herald, and like she keeps going on, and she then says that she's a herald of Galactus. So we would go on to have the surfer, after going on and stating all of this thing that she goes on and states, she then makes her way through, and I mean through this helicopter, and starts to fly off. So Johnny Storm goes on, and this time around, we don't have Johnny Storm who touches the surfer, and then all of a sudden he ends up kind of borrowing and pasting from all the other Fantastic Four characters. We don't have that again, like the other Fantastic Four movie. That doesn't happen, where Johnny is to be touching the surfer, and then all of a sudden he is to be like touching any of the other Fantastic Four, and he has their power. None of that happens in this movie. Anyways, so Johnny grabs onto the surfer's surfboard. And so the surfer goes on and is to tell Johnny this one thing that is not even in his language. And it's to be a thing that he has to go on and figure out and decipher. So, because eventually Johnny will go on and break down that message and come to find out that that message is to go on and be all of the people that have ever gone on and been attacked by Galactus and his herald and their planet destroyed. Comes to find out that is to what is to actually seemingly be what the message is. And so Johnny is to also go on and figure out eventually that the surfer's planet was to go on and have her be forced to be Galactus's herald, so that way her planet could be saved for last. Because we always have that thing kind of happen with the Silver Surfer, who ends up becoming a herald, because because Galactus will go on and save whoever the herald's planet is for last. That's the whole crux of everything. And you would think that when Silver Surfer goes on and kind of plays double agent here and kind of works with the Fantastic Four by the end of the film, that's when I would assume you would go on and actually have Galactus be like, well, hey, I'm going to go after the Surfer's planet and kill that planet because of what she kind of just disrespected me there, and kind of just went against me. So once Johnny makes his way back to the planet, here's where the Fantastic Four have to figure out where exactly Galactus is. And they're going on having quite a bit of speculation of what or who or whatever Galactus actually is. And also, Reed ends up breaking down here that there have been a number of planets that have disappeared or died, and Galactus had been a part of it. So there's evidence within space of that happening, as well as also the Herald of Galactus, aka the Silver Surfer, consistently being there, and that there's a signature of that being there. So there is obviously evidence that Silver Surfer is telling the truth here. So that then forces our Fantastic Four team to realize that they should probably go on and seek out Galactus here. But Johnny is to also go on and tell the group that he had talked to her, and they're like, "Well, what did she say?" And she's like, and so Johnny's like, "Well, she ended up telling me this thing, but it wasn't in English." It's like, well, like, then what was her body language like? Was she saying it in anger? Was she saying it in sadness? Was she like so Johnny was trying to break this whole thing down. I'm like, again, this is what we're wasting time with in this movie to just to figure out what Silver Surfer's going on and saying in a completely different language. This is bullshit. Why are we spending so much time on this? Why? Why movie are we doing this? Please help me. Someone help me. Why? But anyways, so we have Reed going on and changing Herbie's cassette to now space, and he puts it in there because they're gonna have to go to space. So Sue makes her way to Johnny, and Johnny is going on and telling Sue about the whole record thing, and so also everybody is kind of making jokes about how Johnny is infatuated with this surfer girl and that like the two of them are going to end up together. It's very weird. But anyways, so Reed is going on and setting up that they're going back into space, and so Reed ends up telling Johnny about the new suits. And so Reed did go on and do the suits how Johnny wanted it to be. So Johnny looks at all these suits and he's very happy. And so uh, what happened here? I already did that part. So uh, okay. I was like, wait a minute. Like, didn't we already do this part? Like, so uh, we end up having the Fantastic Four go on and have a microphone in front of them. And so they're ending up going on and stating, like making a statement about uh, what they're going to do. So we have Ben, and he's all in like suit and tie uh, and fedora, and he all of a sudden goes by this TV, and we see a flashback of Ben in his normal human self, and Ben is looking at Rachel. He's like, I really want to be with that girl, but like I'm like looking at myself, and I'm like, well, like I'm not the normal human self anymore. I'm to be like the thing. So like I don't know if this girl is really gonna be interested in me. So here's a moment where Ben and Reed are talking to one another, and Ben says to Reed about how he's not really that smart. And then there's a couple of things that happened in his past that was to go on, and kind of conflict with the fact that he's not really that smart. Whereas like he didn't pass his driver's test, he didn't do this, he didn't do that. So, but eventually they're gonna go into space and try to face off against this Galactus being and hope to beat him. So, uh, and there's also a moment here where both Johnny and Sue are spending some time in bed together, and Reed. Did I say Johnny and Sue? I meant Reed and Sue. Reed and Sue are in bed together, and Reed ended up stating to Sue, it's like, well, hey, you're gonna be the first ever pregnant woman to go into space. And Sue is like, well, I know, but we have to go. Like we have. It makes sense for us to go. So we go on and we have everybody in these spacesuits, and so they're getting into the Excelsior, the ship. Mole Man is watching this on telly, and so we go on to have the Excelsior, the rocket thing ends up going off, and Johnny ends up kind of having his hands just kind of up in the air like this, both hands, not just one. And so the rocket goes into space, and so they make their way into this FTL thing, which I will call like the thing that kind of just boosts the ship. So that way they can go into what I would call. Do you guys remember in Star Wars how like they would go into hyperdrive and then like the Millennium Falcon goes really fast, like faster than the speed of light or whatever. Like we end up having them kind of do that in this film where they're kind of going faster than the speed of light. It's kind of like when Thor and Loki like are to be like teleported by Heimdall, and we actually see them actually getting teleported in Ragnarok, where Hela is like following both Thor and Loki, and like and yeah, like that whole business of that movie, like it kind of feels like that for how they're kind of doing this here. So uh we of course go on and have both Ben and both Johnny asking Reed, like, well, hey, like what is this Galactus guy? Like, like, do you think that we can beat him? Do you think we can take him down? And so Ben is like, well, or Ben, Reed is like, well, hey, when we get close, when we get a way of doing diagnostics on him, this and that, and so as further and further Reed is to use all his science garb to think of a way to like to know how powerful this Galactus guy is, Ben ends up getting more and more tired. He's like he's pretending that he's sleeping. And Reed just goes on to tell Ben, it's like, well, yeah, like if this is just some guy in a ship, like Ben, you could probably go on and just probably crush him, right? And Ben is like, yeah. So Ben ends up high fiving Johnny, and Johnny ends up going flying here. So, well, not really just like crazily flying. He just kind of goes whoa, and he just kind of floats off in circles. So, as soon as they go on and make their way to a planet that seems to be having Galactus, they go for an energy detection, and it really doesn't seem they're getting real good enough results here. And so all of a sudden, as they look at this planet, they're like, well, like, where exactly is Galactus? And then all of a sudden, they see this world ship emerge from this planet, and they're like, oh my god. So the Fantastic Four are now scrambling, and they're trying to get alongside this world ship. And Reed is telling Sue, it's like, hey, make us invisible because we don't know what's going on here. So The world ship ends up going on to tractor beam the Fantastic Four ship and forcing. Let me pause here for a second. But I think the actual reason why we have Galactus that knows the existence of the Fantastic Four here is because if he has like cosmic awareness, then he probably should have an awareness that like the Fantastic Four are here. So the Fantastic Four ended up getting pulled into the world ship, and so they end up going on to have a walk up into the world ship. They start to look through it, and eventually they go on to meet up with the Silver Surfer. And so the Silver Surfer has a bit of a conversation with them, and so Johnny then goes on to meet up with the Surfer, and is to go on like, yeah, like the thing that you said before to me, and Surfer's like, well, yeah, it's a saying in my planet, and so he's like, oh, okay, all right, well, like, so that surfboard thing, is it a part of you or? Yes, stupid question. Uh, but so uh, we come to find out that Johnny is to be able to use his powers as well as also use this spacesuit, but it's only for a certain amount of time. If Johnny goes on and uses more than that, he is to eventually lose his oxygen in his spacesuit. So they kind of have to, if Johnny uses his powers, it has to be sparingly, but he's just flying around here because he wants to talk to the Surfer. So so the four meet up with Galactus, and so the big thing here is that the meetup is for Galactus to go on and tell the Fantastic Four that Galactus wants what's in Sue's womb. And like he goes on and gets ever so close to her, and that all of a sudden starts to have Sue like all of a sudden start to become pregnant. Or pregnant. Pregnant? That's not the word. Um, Start to want to deliver the baby. Because contractions are happening. So Reed goes on and tells Galactus, "You'll never have our child, and you'll never have our planet." And so he makes all these claims. So what Galactus wants, he will get. So the Surfer tries to go on and tries to get to Sue as the Fantastic Four realize that they have to run back to the ship because Sue wants to deliver this child. So they're rushing back to the ship, and so like Ben ends up tackling the Silver Surfer. That was pretty cool. Uh, the Human Torch ends up trying to like stop a little bit of Galactus, but how can you really stop Galactus? By putting him in a black hole. No, and so Reed stretches out his hand while grabbing Sue to try and get them like to get closer to the ship. So everybody's going on, and so the Fantastic Four is scrambling to get their way back to the ship. And at one point, uh, we have Johnny he's really starting to run low on his oxygen. So like Ben kind of chucks him over his shoulder, and they try to get out of there. So, uh, so the four make it their way back onto the ship, and Sue, as quickly as possible, is trying to get out of most of her clothes because she's realizing that she's going to be forced to have to deliver this baby on this ship while everything is going on the way it is. So Ben is trying to pilot the ship here. So, like, everybody is just jostling around through the ship. Like, a lot of is just going on here. None of it makes sense. Uh, Ben scrambles at some points to try and get the ship going, but then also he needs Herbie for certain things. But they need to make their way back to the FTL so they can again do that whole like uh, Millennium Falcon thing uh, where they can like warp far away from uh, from the Silver Surfer and Galactus because Surfer is still trying to get to this baby. So and we get so close, and so Surfer even goes through the ship and it's to touch Sue's womb, but she ends up getting dispatched outside of the ship. So Surfer does. So the ship tries to move as fast as it humanly can, and Johnny has to go on and start blasting the Surfer with the kind of the gun that they have on this ship to try and stop the Surfer. And everybody's going on and talking about how sexy the alien is and this and that and so on. So it's really funny. So but the more and more they do these measures to try to get away from the Surfer, the more and more she gains. So they're now going through this wormhole thing. And so what ends up happening is Reed at one point turns to Ben. It's like, well, hey, we need to stop going like at the speed of light. And Ben is like, well, hey, if we stop right where we're stopping, like we're gonna end up in some almost like black hole. And Reed's like, well, I get that, but like that, if anything is actually perfect, we actually need to do that because I have a plan. So Reed goes on to have the ship just kind of get out of this, just kind of this wormhole like thing for them to go faster. And we then have this black hole. So Reed ends up telling Sue that they need to be invisible for at least X number of seconds, and that Reed needs Sue to do this after her certain contractions. So Sue goes on to make the ship invisible, and so Surfer goes on to think that she's seeing this ship, and so she tries to follow it. Come to find out, it's not the actual ship that has the Fantastic Four in it, because it seems that the Excelsior has separated from the FTL and is now just kind of on its own path and is now becoming uninvisible. And Sue ends up getting sucked into the black hole, or Surfer ends up getting sucked into the black hole, and ends up just kind of just be vanished here. So now the four realize that, like, okay, we've gotten rid of the Surfer threat, That's the only thing we have to be worried about right now. So let's go on and let's focus on the fact that Sue is giving birth within this ship. So Reed is now with Sue, trying to go on and work their like the fact that Sue is going to have to deliver this baby, and Reed is saying that maybe Sue should go on and be tied down, and like Sue is like, I will not be tied down, and this uh so here is where Reed ends up telling Sue to push, and so she pushes. So as she's going on and continuing to push, at some point Sue does sometimes become invisible, and Reed touches her, knowing exactly where she is, but she's still invisible. So Ben now has to have Herbie kind of take control of the ship as Ben comes in to now cut the umbilical cord and is to have baby Franklin come into the world. And so they have baby Franklin. Huzzah. A character that uh, does one thing in this movie, but then again, I'm just like, they didn't really need this character in this film whatsoever. Like, but it's a device of like, well, like Franklin Richards is this all powerful being, even though he's technically just a baby. Yeah, just he's a device that is like, well, like Galactus needs him uh to be able to now to no longer need his appetite, and like that's the reason why Franklin's there, because he's this all powerful cosmic being, and like he's yeah. Anyways, moving on. So the Fantastic Four land on Earth, and everybody's thinking that the Fantastic Four had gone off to space to beat Galactus, and everybody's happy that the Fantastic Four had gone and beat Galactus. They immediately just think that it happened. So when the Fantastic Four make their way back to their chief of staff, and they realize that they have to make a speech, they go on and immediately ask the Fantastic Four. It's like, well, like you guys beat Galactus, right? And they're like, well, no. It's like, not really. Like, and they're like, what? So they're like, well, like you obviously should be beating Galactus. Like he's gonna go on and he's gonna destroy our planet. So you beat up Galactus, right? You defeat up monster villain, right? Like that's what you guys do, right? And so Reed also goes on to explain to the news reporters how also Reed had found out that Galactus wants their son, and they're also like, well, hey, like, so like you're gonna give up your son, right, for the planet, like, so yeah, so there's a lot of that going on. So Surfer makes her way back to Galactus, and Surfer is to mention how she is to go on and fail Galactus, and Galactus kind of does the Darth Vader uh, force choke on Surfer, and she kind of takes her whole body, and she kind of just smushes together as if her whole body is kind of being choked, but really like it's like a force choke. Anyways, so excuse me. So we have Reed here, and he's going on and having a whole blackboard just full of equations. And so Ben has Franklin, and so they're trying to figure things out here. And they're trying to figure out that, like, well, hey, if Reed or Reed, um, Reed is to go on and realize that Franklin has this like cosmic power, then like what can we do to like substitute it? Like what could we do to come up with a plan to have Galactus not want Franklin, but then also not want to destroy this planet? Ugh, like what could we do? So now with Johnny is to go on and to within his space helmet to have recorded the thing that Surfer said. So Johnny replays what the Surfer had said in his helmet to Sue, as Sue needs to actually put on the helmet. So Johnny mentions to Sue how that same thing that Surfer had said is also in the record. And so, like, Johnny is just trying to figure out and decipher this whole thing. So, Reed on the blackboard completely wipes the blackboard completely and just puts the word power cosmic on it. I'm like, man, if only we could have some Infinity Stones right now and bring in Thanos. Like, yeah, that would be some real power cosmic, right? So, Reed goes on to try and put machines to figure out exactly how powerful Franklin really is. And for every time Reed is to look at these machines to find the answer of his son, the machines will go on and say no anomalies detected. And so it gets to the point where Reed is to go on and like, okay, like none of these machines are going on and helping me here. So like Reed eventually goes on and tells Franklin, his son, it's like, you know what, I'm gonna shut off all of these machines and eventually you're gonna tell me how powerful you are. And I'm just gonna have to find that out by just watching you and see what you do. So like he doesn't go on and say that exactly now, but he will in the film. So I'm just getting a little bit ahead of myself, as well as also getting fairly tired. I apologize, but that happens when I end up doing these way too late in the day. And also, I just did 2 hours of a video before this already in the start of my day because I had to finish a video from yesterday and also take 2 hours to kind of wrap that thing up. And yeah, it was a whole process. If you see the 4 hour video of the same day that I did this, you'll probably figure out what happened. Anyways, moving on. So, there's a lot of people having their own opinions about what the Fantastic Four should actually go on and do here. And also, while Ben is kind of walking through the streets, we have somebody turn to Ben and like, well, hey, we have families too. Yeah, all right. So, we go on here to have somebody on the telly uh, talking about uh, Sue's baby, and Sue breaks the TV, and so uh, we have Ben and Johnny notice outside that there seems to be a mob outside the Baxter building, and so we now get a point where all the Fantastic Four are all around this table together, and they're really trying to figure things out. And like it almost seems that Reed is to possibly understand why there's a lot of people that think that giving up his son is a good idea, but like Sue ends up getting upset with Reed for even thinking of that. It's like, no, like we're never gonna give up our son, and like that's it. Like that's fine. So Sue ends up going back in the crib where Franklin is, and Sue grabs him and hugs him. And so Reed breaks it to Sue that like he has to go on and think of like every possible scenario, like every possible like way that everything could be played out, even playing into the most horrific or the most like, because if he doesn't like, then he's just not smart enough, then he's just not good at what he does. And so Sue could possibly understand that, but that's probably the one thing that she technically hates about Reed also. But anyways, so here is where Sue goes on to finally meet up with this mob in front of this Future Foundation building, and ends up having a speech. And so she goes on for this long-winded amount of speech, and the focus here is for Sue to go on and say that like, well, hey, like I know what you feel about like me not giving up my child, and this and that. And so eventually Sue goes on to state that like, you know what, if we're all going to do this all together, we're going to all do it as a family. And because again, this is uh fantastic and furious here. And so Sue goes on and does this speech, and everybody is like on her side now after she goes on and does this long-winded speech. And so Sue goes on and mentions how she would move heaven on earth. And during that speech, this jogs into Reed's brain that it's like, oh my god, maybe we can move earth. And so he comes up with this plan. So Reed has gone on to realize that he has the ability to have a way to teleport things. So Reed is to go on of like, hey, like what we can do is we can take Earth and we can teleport it to a place that would take Galactus way too long to try to get to. So that would force Galactus to go on and find a number of other worlds to try and go after besides ours. So Reed ends up going on and explaining his teleport uh, machine to the world. And so everyone in the world starts to go on and starts to one by one create all of these machines. So we're having Ben Grimm and everybody all around the world going on and all building these machines together. So all these special certain locations are all putting together these machines. So that way they can teleport the world. So we come to find out as they continue to do this experiment, which takes way too long of a time to figure all this out and put this all together. I just want to complain about that too. If I'm not complaining about enough about this movie, I'm complaining about that. So Reed also comes to find that this experiment kind of blacks out the city, so they have to conserve uh, electricity here. So they end up by 8 o'clock having a lights out on everywhere. So We even get to a point where Reed, Reed is explaining this to everybody about how like conserving this power will help them. So, and he's telling everybody this on television or on TV on telly. So Ben ends up trying to go on and he tries to shave his beard, but the power ends up going out. So he's like, "Oh, I guess I can't shave my beard." And so Johnny ends up turning to Ben. It's like, "Well, hey, like, you're rocking a beard," and Ben is like, "Well, yeah, because I couldn't shave it." And it's like Johnny's like, "Well, maybe you look good with a beard." And so bizarrely, Ben just is like, "Okay, all right." So like Ben just keeps the beard and he lets it grow out. And then like as much time is to go on and pass here, like Ben just grows full beard out and his beard thing. And I'm like, all right, beard thing. So Johnny, because considering he's like a human like lighter, like he's going on still at night and he's trying to decipher the whole surfer thing. And so all while that's going on, we have Herbie that is giving Johnny food. So, because we have to bring that up. So, uh, so we finally have a point where after we see all these locations that are building these mechanisms, so Johnny finally goes on and is to figure out the message, and so he gets so happy that he throws his hands up. He's like, "Yeah, like figured it out." So Johnny then runs the team and is wanting to go on and tell him what he had figured out. Uh, but it seems that these people are more going on and focused about like, well, hey, like we have the time uh, finally to go on and teleport the planet. So let's focus on that. Let's not focus on what Johnny has to say here. So here is where the world all unites together in a thing that we've never seen before to all work together to try and teleport themselves away to safety. And so we start to see the Earth all trying to do this whole plan. And then all of a sudden, we one by one start to see these teleporting mechanisms being destroyed by the Surfer. It's like, what the fuck? Like, Surfer, I thought you were technically on our side. What the fuck? No. Like, because Surfer realizes that if she destroys these things, then, like, she'll keep Earth for it to be destroyed. So, here's where Johnny comes in. So, Johnny comes in to face the Surfer here, and you would think like, okay, here's where the movie picks up. Here's some action here. We're gonna have Johnny face off against the Surfer, and Johnny's gonna beat her. It's gonna be cool. Yeah, he kind of technically beats her with words. Words. So Johnny ends up talking with the Surfer in her own language, and then goes on to show all the messages of all of the planets that had tried to call in crisis for help. And Surfer is to hear all these messages and is to go on and put her hands in her ears to be like, oh, I don't want to hear any of this. Like, yeah, I know I kill all these planets, I kill all these people. So in a way that had gone on and really had gotten to the Surfer here, as well as also Johnny telling the Surfer about her past, or reminding her of her past, about how she was forced to become the Herald to save her planet. So uh, So the surfer ends up getting so upset by these messages, and so the surfer is to go on and not destroy any more of these signal things, and she just kind of flies off for Johnny to then meet with her and talk to her a little bit. And so Johnny makes his way back to the rest of the team, and they're like, "Man, Johnny, like, I never knew that you were such a linguistic or whatever. That you were like, man, like you really figured her out." So they go on and they realize, like, well, hey, like, since we can't go on and since we can't teleport the planet anymore, we don't have the time to build these machines back up again. Like, what could be the best thing that we can go on and do? So Reed, it seems, is to go on and have yet another plan. So Reed is to look at Franklin here and just being like, well, I have this plan, but it's really risky. So since they can't move the Earth, maybe, just maybe, they can instead move Galactus and have him be so far away from them that there's no way he's coming back. Kind of an interesting plan, but Franklin is to go on, or Franklin, Reed is to go on and tell the rest of the team here that the only problem with this plan is that Galactus needs bait because Galactus has to go on and come from his world ship to make his way onto Earth to get to uh, the exact place that is to be the only teleportating thing left, which is to be in Times Square. So the team is like, well, how are we going to go on and get that to happen? And it's like, oh, the bait. It's Franklin. And Sue is like, no, do not have it be bait. And Reed's like, just kind of, just work with me on this. Like, again, Reed is telling Sue, it's like, well, like, I would go on and have to have worked all the options. And believe me, Sue, this is the only one. And Sue's like, yeah, I get it. Like, I get the, but again, like, just Sue just gets very upset with this. So, but they're end up trying to do the bait and switch to try to confuse Galactus here, but it won't work. Galactus has cosmic awareness. Come on, come on, Thor. Really? Like, you think that you're gonna dupe Galactus and this is gonna just work out? Come on. Come on. Yum on, team. Anyways, so they put the stroller by the teleporter, and so Reed tells the group that Galactus just needs to step at a certain point for them to get the machine to work, and then they'll just need 37 seconds. So we also go on and have to realize here that they realize that there's going to be a possibility that there's going to be too many people uh, in the town that is going to stop Galactus from making his way here. Because there's going to be too many people, and like a lot of people can get in jeopardy if Galactus kind of makes his way through the city. So they're forced to realize that they have to go on and they have to talk to Mole Man and they have to butter him up here, and so Mole Man comes in here and he's like, okay, what do you guys got planned? But like he wants to go on and get serenaded, and he wants to get freaking his boots licked, literally or figuratively, by Reed Richards here for how that these people are to go on and actually need him. So, because they need him for this plan to work. So, Reed is to go on and admit that he will not go on and give in to Mole Man. But so Mole Man goes and talks to Sue, and Mole Man is willing to work with the Fantastic Four to make this whole plan work. So they decide to evacuate the town, and they evacuate the town by bringing everybody in of this city or planet or whatever. They end up bringing them into the underground. I'm assuming it's just the city. It makes a lot more sense if it's just the city. So it's kind of interesting how like the mole man is going on and telling everybody like, hey, like wipe your feet, even though like technically like all that you're just standing around is all just dirt. It's kind of funny that way. And so also there's a moment where Ben ends up talking to Rachel, and 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 so Rachel's asking Ben, it's like, well, are you looking for spiritual enlightenment? Because I think they're at a church or something. And Ben is like, no, I was just looking for you. And it's like, oh, that's a nice moment. But so, whooah! I don't really know exactly what's going on here. So I'm just gonna push as forward as I can here. So, uh, we have Galactus that is splooshing his way into some water here, and like we can see the Galactus is even way bigger than the Statue of Liberty. It's cool. And so Galactus goes on to make his way onto Earth, and he immediately, like as he's getting out of the water, he grabs this building and crushes it. And Galactus ends up grabbing these things of trees and grabbing them and thrusting them into his hand, and he smells it. Johnny sees Galactus smelling this tree, and he's like, "What the heck is going on there?" Like I guess like Galactus is realizing, like, hey, I'm gonna eat this planet. I might as well just kind of sniff it, or just kind of see what it really is like, to get my money's worth. So Galactus uses cosmic awareness and is to know exactly where Franklin is, so he can get to it. So Galactus makes his way to Franklin, and here's where the Fantastic Four start to attack Galactus here. And Human Torch goes on to steal the baby while Galactus is being distracted. And so Johnny makes his way to the Baxter building to set the baby, and then gets back into the action. So here is where we go on to continue uh, to have Galactus making his way to what he assumes is the stroller here, or the stroller, the the baby thing. So Reed is to go on and be right at the machine. He's like, oh man, all he needs is just a couple of steps further. And Galactus all of a sudden completely stops. He ends up using his cosmic awareness, starts to scan, and starts to realize that the baby is actually not where it was, but is to now actually be in the Baxter building. So Galactus goes on and tells the Fantastic Four, it's like, hey, like smart insects. And then he goes on to make his way to the Baxter building. So now the Fantastic Four are trying as best as they can to try and stop Galactus from getting to this building. Ben throws this entire like gas tank or gas truck tank at Galactus, and then Johnny tries to light it up and it tries to explode, but it really does nothing to Galactus. Galactus just keeps on going on, even though he's burst into flame. Ben tries to grab this crane and tries to sling it and then throw it at Galactus, but Galactus catches it and there's nothing Ben could really do. So, if anything, like Galactus chucks the thing, and then now the thing is in almost orbit, and Johnny has to retrieve Ben from space so that way, like, they can continue fighting this Galactus character. So, Reed is trying to figure out a way to take down Galactus here, as Sue is in the Fantastic car. So, Reed is going on, and he's just stretchy. He's just stretchy here, and kind of when Reed is facing off against Galactus here, like it very much reminds me of the Supergirl battle with the monster towards the end of the Supergirl movie, where like the monster goes on and takes Supergirl and tries to just twist and bend Supergirl to where she looks like a weird, like distorted version of her own self. And we kind of see that with Reed here, where like Galactus, after Reed continues to just kind of put these metal pieces into the back of Galactus as if this is like Battle of the Colossus or anything. Galactus grabs Reed here and goes on to start ripping him apart here and stretching him out. So much so that we really see he's just really like getting stretched out here. So this is actually nice because we're almost getting towards the end of the movie and it's almost 2 hours worth of a review. Holy crap. So Human Torch now has the thing, and the two of them are realizing that, all right, we need to kind of do this kind of maneuver here. So, for how the thing is to be so hesitant about saying that it's clobbering time in this movie, to the point that he never goes on and says it, or he says only the cartoon is to go on and say it, and not him, that he never actually says it. But it seems that the team always wants Ben to go on and actually just say this line because they know that Ben is to go on and have this be his catchphrase. And so even in the commercials they try to tease it, have it say that Ben is going to say it's clobbering time, and like I don't know what it is with them trying to say that like they don't want him to go on and say these lines because like he should be saying these lines honestly like all the time, but he doesn't in this film. Like we should be going on and having a counter for how many times Ben says this line in this movie, but instead we actually have the opposite of how many times he doesn't say the line or gets close or tempted or whatever to actually be saying this line, and he doesn't. So but here's where finally Ben says the freaking line where it's clobbering time. So Ben gets thrown at Galactus, and so, but eventually this whole attack just kind of leads nowhere. But Galactus going on, making his way to the Baxter building. And so Herbie just goes on and just kind of does this click on the Baxter building to where it ends up having the shielding, and that just does nothing because Galactus just thrusts through the building and is to grab the kid and is to open up his fist and sees the kid there. So Galactus states that Franklin is to be the one and that is to curb his appetite. And so here is where Sue steps in. And so Sue steps in and starts to use her invisible powers. So she is pushing her powers to the absolute max here. And Reed is just kind of freaking out. And so Sue is eventually going on and telling Reed, it's like, well, hey, just focus on our kid, like, just focus on nothing else. So Sue is trying to push Galactus into the teleporter with her power. And while she's doing that, we also have to realize that the team has to go on and figure out how to get Franklin away from Galactus. So they start the 37-second timer as Galactus is seemingly in frame here. So Franklin is on Galactus here, and Franklin ends up getting grabbed by Reed and whisked away here. So Sue ends up using her power so much so as this black hole is starting to suck in Galactus that Sue uses her power so much so that she keels over and dies here. So Galactus, it seems, is getting sucked into this black hole, and Ben Grimm is thinking like, yeah, we did it. And then all of a sudden Galactus starts pulling his way back out of this black hole, and they're like, oh, like, I guess not so. So Ben is looking at Galactus like, oh, okay, what are we going to do now? So Johnny realizes that he can go on and, like, he can use his powers here. And so Human Torch goes on and says, like, well, hey, I think I'm going to go on and I'm going to just shove Galactus into this black hole. So Johnny thinks that he's going to sacrifice himself and do the sacrifice play. So Johnny ends up telling Reed, it's like, well, hey, tell Franklin that his Uncle Johnny loves him. And I'm like, man, don't give me some sad shit right now. Like, come on. So Johnny ends up going on to make his way to ram into Galactus here. But the Surfer ends up going on and seeing Johnny, and she pushes him out of the way. And then so the Surfer is going to go on and sacrifice herself to force Galactus into the black hole. And so she does. So after that happens, we have the rest of the Fantastic Four that is to find Sue's body. And considering Sue is now dead, Reed is trying to go on and do CPR on Sue's body to try and get her to come back alive. And it's not working. It's really not working. It really isn't. Reed continues to try, and Ben is just grabbing the back of Reed and like, hey man, like I think you've tried, like just and Reed just won't give up. So here's honestly something that is kind of weird in my opinion. So Sue is now obviously dead, and Reed just puts Franklin's body, baby body, just over his mother. Just like, hey, just put the baby on top of Sue, and she's dead. Kind of weird. But come to find out, like, I guess they were hoping that maybe Franklin, even though infant and baby, could still resurrect Sue, and so that's what happens here. Is bizarrely Franklin, without any real knowledge or really any iota of having to be able to figure out his powers because he's just a baby, resurrects Sue. And like, and then Franklin goes on and claps. And I'm like, all right, Franklin, all right, like you resurrected your mother, and then you could clap. Good for you. Like maybe you should say your first word. Maybe it should be onomatopoeia. Or maybe it should be mother. So Sue comes back to life, and so uh, at this point, everybody's like, "Yeah, you guys beat Galactus because we didn't do." So everybody comes back in town, and so Sue is now with her baby, and so the Ted Gilbert show is to be a thing that is to showcase the entire Fantastic, technically Five family, even though like the chief of staff is to go on and say like, "Hey, the baby's gonna wear this five costume," and they're like, "No, like we're not gonna have him wear it. It's too soon yet, and we don't want to like put this on him yet." Uh, so the whole team is back on the Ted Gilbert show or whatever, and they're gonna stand exactly where they did in the very beginning of this movie, and all of a sudden, every single one of the Fantastic Four members realize that their watches are all going off. And they realize that there's an alert, there's some crisis going on that they have to deal with. And so, as Ted unveils the curtain to showcase the Fantastic Four, none of them are there. All of them have run off stage, and they're making their way to the Fantastic Car because they have to go on and figure out how to make the baby seat work in the car, and they're taking way too freaking long to figure this out. And every single time they're trying to figure this out, the light is dinging red. And so, as they finally perfectly figure out how to make the baby seat work, the light turns green, and they're like, "All right, this is good. Like we can get the car seat to work. Fantastic." So, and then the team goes off and flies off to their whatever their crisis is. I'm not quite sure what it is. It's just there. So that's what I think ends this movie, I feel, in my opinion. And then we end up getting to the end credit scene, which supposedly the end credit scene is the thing that I actually had to look up on YouTube because it didn't actually show what the actual end credit scene was on this take of this movie because they never really do. Every once in a while, I'll see like there'll be one movie that was done that actually did have the end credit scene. And I'm like, okay, cool. But every other time, never go on and see the end credit scene, so I have to go on and look it up in YouTube. So, come to find out the end credit scene of this movie, allegedly, uh, we have Sue that is to be going on and be reading this book to her now 4-year-old child because 4 years have passed and the child is 4 years older. So, and there's a book that Sue is reading to her child. Anyways, so Sue wants to go on and read a specific book to her child, and Herbie is even recommending a book for Sue to take, and Sue's like, no, 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 I think we definitely need to have a different book. And so, as Sue is to go on and try to get this book to then have it be read to then Franklin, as Sue returns to Franklin, it seems that Sue is to sense some kind of danger afoot, to where she is to have her powers be shown to us as if there is some kind of danger or crisis going on. And then the thing that we next see is Doctor Doom holding Franklin with his mask, kind of off to his side here. And so we're like, aha, like Doctor Doom. But this does nothing for us again. And so we just get the F out of here and call this a review. So I'm going to get out of here so I can go on and put this review out today. And hopefully I don't fall asleep before I put this out. So I'll have this done. Huzzah! Great. One more thing to be done for today. And then I think I may have to go on and I don't know if I'm going to have to I don't know if I'm gonna be able to have another piece of content that goes out the following day. I may end up going on and just being like, I am so freaking wiped from all the stuff that I did combined today and yesterday. But I hope to go on and maybe have some kind of piece of content to be able to do. Maybe it actually won't be superhero stuff for once, and maybe it'll be something different. Uh, I do realize that I probably should go back to Power Rangers, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that yet. With all the that I did today, like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do a Power Rangers thing fairly, fairly tomorrow or soon. But I know I'm going to have to get to that, and I know I should have gotten to that, but it'll happen. So I'm not promising anything, but I'm thinking about it. Believe me. And also, people will probably not be watching this whole thing, so I can kind of say whatever I want. I'm done with another review. All right, yeah, I'm done. Oh yeah, this movie sucked. This movie sucked. Yeah, it sucked. Oh yeah, it sucked. Oh yeah, it just sucked. Yeah. Anyways, some movies that I may contemplate doing in the future. Needless Things is a movie with Ed Harrison that I may go on and eventually review. Ed Harris, I think, yeah, that's what I wanted to say here. I'm very tired, I'm very exhausted, and I just want to be done. So uh, there's a couple of projects that I'm thinking about doing. There's a lot of animated stuff of animated series that I'm so tempted to want to do right now, but I probably will think that it's probably a waste to do. Uh, there is a lot of stuff that I hope to continue to keep this train a rolling, even though also there's a lot of stuff that just kind of goes nowhere. It's a lot of stuff because it's so freaking hard to find anything that's trending on YouTube any god dang more. I just have to hit the right things at the right times, and this probably will end up probably not ended up being one of those. But um, Superman ended up doing well enough for me on this channel that I was just to think that there's possibly hope for me. But then again, also I'm just going on and doing these bits of content that are just so I don't know if I'm gonna just uh, eventually get out of this rut that I've kind of created for myself. Um, then again, also I don't upload consistently, and I do 4-hour rants. I'm sure no one would want to hear the whole thing of, if not just maybe a couple of minutes of. So, but I'm gonna get out here. Thank you for going on and listening to this, or being a part of any of this, a bit of reviews of however you want to go and do, where you watch this maybe the first 10 seconds and then jump off, or maybe you watch the first couple minutes and maybe just kind of hear what I have in the early stage of this review and then just jump off after that. I definitely was just kind of very exhausted and tired, so whatever I probably said was probably not good, but I hope that I did this review somewhat seldomly good, so, well, I don't know. But anyways, thank you for going on and in this, just this. So I'm gonna get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.